Back with another Campfire Conversations. This isn't take two. No, we didn't mess anything up the first time, and when I say we, I mean me. Dr. Nate Wiechmann joining us tonight on Campfire Conversations. Great to see you, sir. It's great to be able to get outside and sit next to a fire on a evening that is getting cooler as we're speaking, but it's still a little bit on the warm side. Wanted to start off a little bit with your background, that you have two different offices, one in Council Bluffs and also one in Oakland, but the one starting in Oakland, correct, isn't it? Oakland, Iowa. This goes everywhere. Not Oakland, California, Oakland, Iowa. But that's where your office started, was in Oakland, Iowa.
Yep.
So what got you started in Oakland?
So initially, I was working in Kansas City when I just got out of school, and I was kind of running my own business through another clinic, and it was slow go, and it was a nice, rude awakening, I like to say, or slap in the face to the real world and business and all the, the factors that go into that. And so it was pretty slow, but I wasn't really loving it. It wasn't going to be a long-term solution. So I was like, I spent a year, learned some stuff, and then I there was a guy that had a clinic out there previously for 4 or 5 years, and this guy, I reached out to him asking about it because he wasn't there anymore, and he told me, hey, I was pretty good business, this and that, but he also didn't tell me that he lost his license in the state for fraudulently billing insurance.
Oh, geez.
Medical insurance. So I didn't hear that part of it, but anyway, I ended up, came up here and checked it out. It was about 15-20 minutes from where my dad grew up. So my dad grew up, my grandpa had a farm. He fed cattle and did row crop, and my uncle and aunt lived there currently, which I would come up in the summers during college after I got done playing collegiate sports. I would come up and work with them a little bit on the farm and just kind of enjoy the different pace of life. And I was always learning something new, eager to learn, hard work, but it was kind of fun to be outside doing stuff on your own, working with a family, not having a real hard boss per se, So I enjoyed it, and I was that kind of got me intrigued that I would come up and maybe open a clinic near there when I got out of school. And so that opportunity presented itself, and so I came up, and I didn't purchase this clinic or anything, luckily, but I just came up and just kind of opened up shop in this town a couple years after a year after he'd left or something. But, young and naive, you don't realize that reputation in a smaller community, it can stick with you a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
And not, even though I'm a different person, chiropractor, medical fraud, whatever. So it took a little bit longer to get established and, getting involved in the community. But from there, my wife eventually moved up here, and then we're living in Council Bluffs, and we decided to kind of expand westward. So
before we talk about more of the running two clinics at the same time, you're not just going to glaze over the college athlete part. So what were you playing?
So I played football for a little bit. I had a partial scholarship to Pittsburgh State out of high school.
Okay.
And then went down there for about a year and I just did that for a year, and the year was good.
That was it?
And then I was body was beat up, and I was kind of not, I was just kind of burned out.
That makes sense. I mean, because that does happen. I mean, it happens more than I think people realize. That they think that somebody goes to college to play football or basketball or whatever it might be, that they're just there and they're going to be there the whole time. Not always.
Yeah. Sometimes
you find out that, my high school career was, I think that was enough, and I've gotten a taste of something more, so.
Yeah. And our high school, I was blessed. We won a state championship my senior year, and we're runners up my junior. So it was what do I want to say? It was a commitment. This was 15 years ago, so it's been a while, the good old glory days. But it was a year-long commitment that we committed, the weight room and study films and all this. It was a big deal. And nowadays that's kind of common, right? Now you have the specialization where athletes are just all year doing all the stuff, and is what it is. But we were pretty hard into that when I was there, and that I think it attributed to success, obviously, but also turned some of the burnout. And a lot of my buddies, looking back, and even then, not very many finished. A lot of them, we had like 11 or 12 guys go play college football, but not too many finished. You know, it was just, but it was a good experience. But yeah.
All right, so let's, as we got the cow in the background, let's go back to opening up the clinic in Oakland, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the services you were offering right at the beginning? Because I know you've grown a lot, and
Yeah.
as your personal education has grown at the same time, learning so much more the longer you're in the industry.
Yep.
But as you got started, what were some of the first things that you were offering?
So when I was just probably a heavy dose of, just straight, basically kind of chiropractic, you know, lots of adjusting, orthopedic exams and stuff. And then I was really heavy in like kind of rehab-ish. You know, I'm definitely not a physical therapist. I don't spend an hour with them, but being kind of very active and into, you know, weightlifting and mountain biking and stuff like that. And then, you know, with sports being a background, you always want to look and perform better, you know, so I associate that to, you know, bigger, faster, stronger, not necessarily, you know, in that order, but so I was always studying that, you know, how do we keep healthy, and then adding in the chiropractic, and that's, you know, biomechanics, how the body moves, how it should move, what's weak, what's tight. So I did a lot of that, assessing kind of biomechanics, and then added a lot of rehab, was pretty rehab heavy initially, and I still do that some, but it's really tailored, it's specific, you know, it's like, it's a very personalized approach, is what kind of how I take it with my patients and stuff.
So what you were doing then versus the type of clinics that you run now,
Mhm.
is there, have you just added to that, or has there been any shift at all, or is it just expanding?
I'd say definitely added, and then experience, you just start to learn and know, you know what I mean, so I don't have to take all the steps that I used to just to figure things out. But I've definitely expanded my horizon with what we kind of offer. Just going through my own personal health struggles with, you know, different digestive issues and different things that have propped up over, you know, over a life, and so it's expanded my horizon, and I've continued to learn different things. So now, you know, we're offering. I still do, like I said, treat athletes, and then do some different sports med type stuff, but then I do some functional med stuff on the side. Then we have some lifestyle modification. I offer some hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Just some different things that support the overall health of the person.
What is the hyperbaric oxygen? What does that do?
So that is it's a chamber, and then what it does is it pumps in air and then oxygen as well, and it expands, so it increases the pressure when you're in the chamber, and then that pressure with the oxygen, so a gas under pressure will kind of expand, especially oxygen, and so what it does is it pushes oxygen into your tissue, so it helps that oxygen get out of the blood into like the plasma, they call it,
Okay.
and the kind of the different fluids of the body, and then increases the amount to the different tissues of the body. So it helps with all kinds of different healing of different injuries and different stuff.
What would be an example of what would somebody be dealing with that getting that type of treatment would be beneficial to them?
So I've had a number of interesting cases. Definitely a traumatic brain injury we've had some really cool results with that. So you're thinking of, you know, concussion, motor vehicle accidents, even kind of like post-strokes. And right, we're not treating, diagnosing, or curing, but it just helps with the recovery. Because at a cellular level, basically the mitochondria, which they call the powerhouse of the body, the goal is to produce ATP and then oxygen. So oxidation is a method of a term used in like biochemistry. So it wants to oxidize glucose or oxidize fat, and so that basically it's using that molecule and turning it into energy. And so oxygen, you know, your body, your brain, like when you have a stroke, there's decreased oxygen to a part of your brain, and so the brain tissue is literally dying within 20-30 seconds. That's how significant oxygen is, and so it just helps speed up recovery. All kinds of things. You know, fractures, helps speed up recoveries of fractures. That decreases the time for it to heal. So there's just a number of injuries or things that it can really help with.
How long does a person typically need to be in there?
In this one, about 60 to 90 minutes is kind of what we do. So this is what's called a soft chamber, and then there's hard chambers. So that basically the pressure increases with the hard chambers. And so with those, though, you got to be careful with the length of time you're in it and the amount you use it, because it's called, you can actually, believe it or not, you can cause oxygen toxicity at high levels. Very hard to do. Soft chamber, you basically don't have to worry about that.
What in the heck would I be doing in there for 60 to 90 minutes
in the chamber?
In the chamber.
I mean, you can take your phone in there or a book. So I have patients go in there, read a book.
Read a book, okay.
On it, but it's a great spot for a nap.
Well,
it'll lull you to sleep. So then we get into the sympathetic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system. And so you have parasympathetic, sympathetic, and what this oxygen, there's basically like thresholds in your body, like chemical, in your biochemistry and your physiology, that when you trigger these with pressure and with oxygen, it'll help kind of activate the parasympathetic nervous system and put you into rest digest. So it kind of stimulates that rest recovery, versus sympathetic, think fight or flight, right? Just sympathetic drive, go, you're just, can't calm down. And sometimes it's hard when people are, the stresses of life, and there's 3 stressors, there's mental, psychological, chemical, physical, and we have too much stress and we get into the sympathetic state, it's hard to get to the parasympathetic, so there's different things you can do, HBOT being one, a number of other things we can do, but to help balance that nervous system, to help you heal, rest, and digest.
You had brought up gut health, and I'm a complete novice, but I'm fascinated by it, because I know that the better I eat, the better I feel, not just here, but here.
Yeah, totally.
I feel and can think much more clearly, and I'm not, as somewhere along the line I've developed a gluten intolerance, and I can no longer eat sandwiches, and it's the bane of my existence. But when, as I said, the cleaner I eat, the stress goes away. But if I do eat some of that stuff, I can feel my anxiety go up.
Interesting.
And it's coming from gut health.
Yeah.
And speak a little bit about that, about the importance of what's going on around this area, that it affects so much more of your body.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I've experienced that myself, and it's not as much now, just because you kind of learn too, right? So now you've learned, hey, for some reason, a sandwich, whether it's the type of bread or whatever, is causing, some fatigue, brain fog, what have you. I went through that, in my journey 8, 9, 10 years ago, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen now, at times, but I've just had to learn a whole bunch of stuff, taken, all kinds of books I've read and courses and this and that, but you just start to learn the connection of the body, and like you said, the gut health. The gut is, they call it the second brain. That's kind of the new thing in like holistic medicine. So you have all this different bacterias, and this is how much we know. There's probably a lot more to know, but even what we know and what we're learning, it's like, man, this is really important, and it affects everything. Immune system, brain fog, energy. I mean, it just can have an influence on all this stuff. So it's really, it's important to know, what triggers you. And that's the thing, is everybody is a little different. And so they're going to respond a little different to different stuff. And that's the trick of healthcare. It's like, for whatever reason, we want to generalize everything and just do basic stuff and just assume that everybody's going to respond the same. And when we're all individuals, we all have a unique perspective and unique background, and it's just asinine to think that we can just have one, standard of care for every human being. Unfortunately, that's just where we're at. So you have to basically learn on your own, unfortunately, or you go to maybe some healthcare providers that are a little more holistic, or most of the time they've had to go through it themselves, is what I find. that engages them to learn a little more and dig a little deeper. Is what I had to do myself. And so it's a big part of the health. And like I treat people with different digestive issues, and so we do specific testing for that. It's a little different than just blood work, looking at all your blood markers and CMP and all this stuff. Like we do different, like urine samples, stool samples, and you can look at all kinds of bacteria that are in the gut. And all right, we have enough information now to know that certain bacteria are associated with negative feelings or outcomes, and certain ones are a little more positive. You can literally look at the balance of that. And then from there, you can look at all kinds of other stuff. Do we have environmental toxic load? Do we have, for example, I have a young kid that came in today, and we looked at some of the stuff, and he has overburden. He has a lot of mycotoxins. So he's maybe getting it from moldy food. Maybe he has an exposure to mold in a house that's shutting off his liver. And now he has a bacterial dysbiosis. So he has an overgrowth of different Clostridia bacteria, which are anaerobic gram-negative bacteria that aren't necessarily good, that we want at lower numbers. And he has allergic reactions to certain food that he developed in the last year, out of the blue. So mom's kind of concerned, like, this is really strange. He's a healthy 13-year-old. Why is this happening? And so we went over all this blood work, and yeah, he's got some environmental toxins. So we're looking at like different pesticide residues and mycotoxins that are above normal, that are causing a overreaction of the immune system and a gut dysbiosis and wreaking havoc on the liver. So it's actually like, that's how deep this goes, with a lot of people's health. And unfortunately, the system we have doesn't want to go there. Most people, 99%, won't go there. And so unfortunately, like I said, it takes an unfortunate experience individually to initiate that learning, is what I found. I know that was a lot.
No, I know, but still.
I can go on for days. But
I know, exactly. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to talk to you, because, again, as a novice, I have come to believe that, and I'm stealing this line from a documentary I watched one time, but a lot of the things that we eat should come with a warning label on them that says not for human consumption. Because there is something to look at, all of those different chemicals that are in there. The way that our food is now, the system is not designed for health. It's designed for profit.
Yeah.
It's designed for maximizing yield, and then maximizing shelf life. How can we effectively ship from one place to another, and how long can it stay on a shelf? You look back, we have so many different kind of problems now than society had 100 years ago with our health. Because, and I'm a firm believer, it's because of the stuff that we're eating. There's a trainer in town. She had First Row Fitness. She has, trains people with exercise. And Carrie was on a podcast one time with me, and she said she finds it very frustrating that a grocery store would have a health food section. The entire store should be healthy food, but it's not.
I know.
So but that's where we're at, and that's I'm not perfect, I still buy canned tomatoes, but it's tough. It's just the way we're set up now. It's just hard to be able to keep that out of you.
It is, for sure. Yeah, that's a little, I always mention, shop around the outside of the grocery store.
Right.
You ever heard that little phrase? Yeah. Because, like you said, everything is...
Yeah, with the ice creams on the outside.
Exactly. And I'm a sucker for ice cream, especially on the weekends.
I am
so like
too.
you said, we're not here to be perfect, and we're not here to act perfect or, try to make everybody... We're not going to be that, but it's just, like you said, like some of these underlying health issues that people have, you're exactly right. It's... Their lifestyle choices and these different chemicals that are in our food and in all this stuff, it builds up in your body, and then you kind of start getting these symptoms, and they come out of nowhere. And everybody's different, right? And everybody has different issues and different predispositions, but it just makes it pretty difficult, because now we have certain three-letter agencies in our government that are saying, hey, Lucky Charms is healthier than beef or whatever. Like there's just all this stuff out there. And it's just like, what is going on? Are we living in 1984, the Twilight Zone, or what?
Well, you go back and, back when I was in school, and I don't know if it was the food pyramid still a thing back when you were in school? Because they were preaching that hard when I was in school, and it turns out the entire thing was a scam.
Yeah.
So it's.
But like you said, it's the system is built this way, and this is the unfortunate thing. There's not bad people. No one's bad. I mean, there's some ignorance and there's some whatever, ego, holding on to my ego, and it's all right. All this science that we promote, the government promotes is all right, and all this stuff. But it's it's all like, because it's subsidized, like. So we promote all these grains and stuff. Well, the government creates these subsidies and gives them to, farmers and the academic institutions that are sponsoring the research. It's cherry picked, is like I say. Everything's, and so you just have to have discernment nowadays to really and like experience. And you're not going to learn this unless you try it out. And you're like, man, I feel quite a bit better. My brain fog's better. My headaches are better. My gut's a little better. My joint pain's a little less when I don't eat XYZ. It's just, it takes some personal responsibility is what the word I like to talk about. And it's, it's not for everybody, and that's fine, but that's just what it takes. And like I say, the sicker someone is, the more drastic their lifestyle choices and things they're gonna have to be. It's just the way it is.
Everything kind of switched for me several years ago. There was a news story that came out that they were going to ban menthol cigarettes. They weren't going to ban cigarettes. They're just banning the menthol cigarettes because menthol, they were saying, was unfairly targeting certain minorities, which may be true, but so you're saying the menthol is worse than the cigarette itself? You're going to leave the cigarettes on the shelf,
Yeah.
And you're talking to a former smoker here. I smoked for a long time, and this year I passed 15 years of being off of them. Wow. So it was kind of,
Good for you, man.
This was the giant hurdle for me. Making it 15 years was a big deal.
Wow.
So I know what it's like to be addicted to these things, but at the same time, they're legal. So, the FDA is going to say what's healthy and what's not, but yet they're going to sell things that kill you.
Yeah.
So I struggle with that. I don't like hypocrisy in any form, and this is something that
it's all over. Yeah, that's the hard thing. That's the hard thing to weed through all this. It's in everything, everywhere. And I don't know.
Well,
I think you get things like this, just people talking, and people are out there eager, and there's so much information too is another thing. So sometimes it gets overwhelming for people as well. You get this, what I call paralysis by analysis. There's so much to analyze and learn, and I'm guilty of that sometimes, where I'm just going down, digging and reading and researching, and it's just like, okay, just take one step forward. And
I kind of wonder too, and focusing on the food end of this, but fast food has gotten crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Look at the line at the drive-through. It's still full.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can eat at home much, much cheaper now than what going through a drive-through, and that line is still long. So what is it that's pulling those people in there?
Yeah.
Because it's the only thing that particular sack of food has the ability to do is make you not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
It's not going to provide any nutrition.
Yeah.
So
it's convenience, and then as a parent, I get it, and a business owner, it's easier too. And, people out there don't even get started about the cost of living and how things are tough, so then you get 2 or 3 kids, and I've worked all day, both the spouses have, so it's the path of least resistance too, unfortunately. And then kids, and don't even get started on these activities kids do nowadays. It's just everything under the sun. It's crazy. It's like sometimes we're working to subsidize all these extracurricular activities that just drain our bank account or money, but I did some of that stuff, so it's not the end of the world, but it's convenient. A lot of it's convenience too,
Let's shift back to the 2 offices that you run. How has that worked out for you as far as scheduling goes? Having two separate locations. You got two leases you're paying
Yeah.
doing this.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how has that process worked for you?
You know, it kind of wears on you a little bit. It's been the last maybe year or so. It's been a little more wearing, but um, smaller town, little cheaper lease. You know, so that's beneficial. But then you just kind of get to know people out there. You become kind of almost part of the community a little bit, and just develop real good relationships with a lot of the patients. And then then you're their trusted kind of provider, kind of entry point. So I deal with, like I said, a lot of different things walk through my door, and some of them are out of my scope, and I refer on. Hey, we need to get some imaging or this and that. You need to get this checked out. And so then you develop that trust, and it's like, oh, he's not just gonna come in here and bilk my insurance for 30 visits from the year, and try to solve all my problems with just an adjustment or whatever. You get that trust, and so once you have that, it's kind of hard to let go. And a lot of them come see me in Council Bluffs too, from the rural communities, but it's convenient, and it's 2.5 days a week out there and 2.5 days in Council Bluffs. So it's not terrible. I do need to, update some equipment and one or the other, and
Right.
it's like, do I need 2 of these or what? No, probably not, but it works pretty good. It's kind of nice to have a different change of scenery every once in a while too,
Well, we wanted to make an announcement on this, that you're actually going to be starting a project similar to what we're doing here.
Yeah.
A little bit different, because it's going to be tailored to fit you, your skill set, what it is that the information that you want to get out. We're just skimming along this. We're a rock skimming along the top of the water here right now.
Yeah.
You're actually going to dive in a little bit deeper
Yeah.
with a podcast that you're going to be doing, and having different guests on and talking with some different folks and that kind of thing. So what are some of the things that you want to be able to focus on with this podcast that you're going to be getting going soon?
Yeah, it's a good. I've thought a little bit about it. It's been so busy, and as a parent and stuff, I haven't gone too deep. But I've been kind of I have a list, and I have some friends in the medical profession, all different walks. A couple of DOs, MDs, other chiropractors, or what have you, naturopathic doctors that I talk to and troubleshoot stuff with. There's a term, functional medicine. I don't know if you call it. It's just a different form of healthcare is all. We're using basically more natural remedies, if you will, for different things, even lifestyle changes, diet. But we'll go into all kinds of different things, maybe different cases that we've had. Obviously, we're not going to disclose any patient information. It'll be HIPAA compliant.
Right.
But we're going to kind of cover different diet, detoxification processes, and detoxification from different, as I said, this young man, he's got some different things that we're doing. Now that we have a picture, there's specific ways we're going to target it with different modalities and different supplements as well. And it doesn't mean we're going to take him forever. We're just going to hit it hard with certain things that we have researched from around the globe that will back some of the stuff we're doing. And so it'll be stuff like that. We'll talk troubleshooting different things with medical providers, things they see or have experienced, and so I just think it'll be something different to hear, and hopefully it gives people hope. Hey, it's not just one way to do things. And I think people know that there's all these options out there, but hearing it from people that have been in there and done it, whether it's themselves or they make a career out of doing it, and learning this stuff, working with other people, I think that it's more ideal than just reading an article or whatever. Like your phone listens to you, and and you start talking about this stuff, and here's a NAC supplement or whatever,
Right.
Like you're just being sold a bag of goods, and it's like, well, why are we doing that? And that's why I mentioned this testing, and most of these other providers, not all of them, but a lot of them do that stuff too, where we're like specifically targeting something. We're not just doing a shotgun, just like guessing, and we might get lucky, different stuff.
Setting a goal, setting a path on how to reach that goal,
Yeah.
and actually following along with that to make sure that you're and learning along the way at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes I'm sure that you find that something that you try, okay, we're not getting the results here that we thought, so we got to pivot just a little bit, and that type of thing. I'm sure you run into that all the time.
Oh, for sure. And that's what these providers and hopefully the different guests, if I can get some people on.
Oh, you will.
You know, I'll definitely learn from them, and I do learn from them a lot. And so that's part of that too. We're both learning together, troubleshooting, and then hopefully if people want to tune in, they can learn something too. And then, if it's a local person, maybe it seems like a good option for them and some of their needs, healthcare needs, for some of the local providers that I will include in the talks. Or now with telehealth and stuff, it's pretty accessible. You can kind of get somebody across the world if you want.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's talk about what type of patients should come to see you. I mean, for some kind of problems that they might be having, where would you like to say, okay, this is somebody that I think I can help? So what would be some examples of that?
that is a good question. That's a hard one too, because you want to say anybody with a pulse, but that's not always the case. So I treat all walks of life.
If somebody has a compound fracture, they're probably not coming to you first.
Yeah, for sure. I do a lot. Definitely, like my practice is mostly built on like musculoskeletal pain management, I'd call it. We come in, aches and pains, what's going on. I'll do some orthopedic testing, a trial of care, as I say, and most of the time it helps decrease the pain, and then we kind of learn how to manage it and heal it. Or sometimes they need more care, and so then you refer out. But it's kind of like almost a point of entry for different musculoskeletal stuff, that we're not having really red flag symptoms and losing and just other symptoms that are maybe a little bit more severe. So a point of entry for musculoskeletal pain, and then like I said, helping this young kid with kind of an immune thing, and then I have patients that had a fall a year ago, and then he's got really bad headaches and dizziness, and he can't be around loud noises and big crowds because he just kind of gets dizzy, and so like I put him in my chamber, and it's helped that tremendously. Where he did therapy for 6 months and some OT and all this stuff, and it helped, but he was just terrible headaches and stuff, and where the chamber was like helped all that integrate, and now he's able to live a somewhat normal life and back to work and all this stuff. So it's kind of hard to say what the ideal patient is, but that's because that's a three way different symptoms that you're like, oh, all three of them can get help. I mean, not saying it's for everybody, but those are three. But I do mostly, I guess most of my practice would be like musculoskeletal pain management, point of entry kind of thing.
How much just strictly chiropractic adjustment do you do now? How much is that still a large percentage of your business?
Yeah, pretty good percentage, I'd say. Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Some people just like a good adjustment, and I'm one myself. I have somebody in town that I go to, and hey, we'll adjust each other, and it just kind of helps, especially if I'm hurting, somewhere. Just kind of if I don't spend the time doing the stretching and the mobility exercises that I know to do, that life gets busy and I don't take the time to do it. I'll go get an adjustment myself.
Well, as a young man, I wasn't much of a believer. Just full disclosure, I wasn't. And then my grandmother, who took me to see her chiropractor, and this young lady worked on my neck. My head fit differently on my neck. I could feel it different and it felt right. And I never realized that what I was living with. And I was like, wow, that is amazing. And from that moment on, I became a believer, and I have experienced just how much better my health can be, getting those adjustments that you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of my similar story. Just growing up, my best friend's dad was a chiropractor, and I never really went to him until I got into high school, and active with sports and stuff, and like, remember, I think the first time I got adjusted, I was a hurdler in high school, and I like strained my hip flexor, so I couldn't lift my knees. Like with run, it was just like stabbing pains right inside of your belly button. So we're doing 7-on-7 in the summer, and I'm just like strained it. I literally couldn't lift my knees, and so I went and got a few adjustments and did some like soft tissue on the hip flexor and showed me some stretches, and within a week I'm back at it. Whereas otherwise it was just rest. You go to your primary care and it was just like, oh, just rest. And it's like, I'm a young kid, I want to play this year, I need to do 7-on-7, blah blah blah. And within a week or so he had me back. So there was just experiences like that it's like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of swayed me to chiropractic. I was actually thinking, I was a personal trainer in college, and so I was thinking like physical therapy kind of thing. But then he talked to me and just it's like, I can have a little more autonomy. That's I think the good thing about chiropractic is it's still seen as alternative and witch doctor, whatever, which is it's kind of nice actually. I kind of like that, because then I can talk about deep stuff and like, hey, here's the evidence, and people are like, never heard that before, and you're not going to, because the system is what it is. It's just there's just certain parameters it's going to allow, and you can look, but outside of that, it's just not going to really go there. And so it's kind of acting to our benefit nowadays with this people kind of like curious about other options to different things, and other research out there. So,
well, we've talked long enough that the fire went out.
I know.
So
better light another one, huh? I can keep going, huh?
Yeah, we could have you out here as long as we need to. We still got a little bit of light left because we got started earlier than I thought we were going to do. But I'm fascinated by a lot of stuff, and I have become a believer in. Well, for a while I was overdoing it with the supplements.
Yeah.
I was taking fistfuls of the stuff and all of these different things.
Yeah.
And I have backed way off on a lot of this. So I know that supplements is something that you deal in. So what would you say to somebody like me that back then, when I had 11, 12 different things that I was taking in the morning, and some of those I was supposed to be taking multiple times a day. So what would your first response to hearing something like that be?
I mean, I've been there, when I first got on this journey, thinking you need this for that and all this stuff. Been there, done that, and same as you, backed way, way, way off. It's a tough thing, because that's kind of, they call it functional medicine, but it's just another way to deal supplements, kind of. People are seeing it now, and some providers are that way, not all of them. And so then we look into like the qualities, like, all right, like certain ones are coming from these big corporations that maybe get stuff, derived from China and all this stuff. And so it's loaded. A lot of this stuff has stuff you don't want in it, heavy metals, preservative chemical, whatever, residues. And so it's really, it's a tricky, and that's what it's hard to tell people that, because they're taking personal responsibility, learning, doing some research, which is a good thing, but then they just want to solve it with a pill, and so I target it. So I'll do some deep, like when people come to me, symptom surveys. If they want to go a little deeper and look at like toxic body burden, we can go that, because these metals will knock off certain minerals in the biochemical process that will halt certain things, and the biochemistry won't act like it should. And so it's necessary for some of this stuff, but there is just way too much of it, just selling all this stuff, and the quality's questionable. So I have about 3, 4-ish, maybe 5 companies that I even take myself or recommend. One of them is I call it like my multivitamin company. It's a organic farming family operated Dr. Royal Lee standard process from 1930s. And so it's an organic farm up in Wisconsin, and they basically grow all their different vegetables, herbs. I think they get some herbs from Meta Herb out of Australia, but it's very strict. And then they add like bovine glandulars, and they make their own whey protein from their herd up there. So it's very like, it's good, it's quality. It's all from real stuff. So that's how I think it should be approached. You want vitamins that are made from, or vitamins and mineral supplements from real things. Not necessarily just like a mineral powder that could be a,
Right.
derivative from a mining operation that has trace, whatever in it.
Yeah.
So that's my kind of recommendation is quality, and if you don't know, reach out to a healthcare provider, somebody that that maybe knows a little bit more. The other issue is there's all these MLMs out there, and not saying they're bad quality, but some of them aren't very good quality, and so it's tricky.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to be selling you something, and so people have their guard up, and then they kind of trust maybe somebody that they know, and sometimes maybe they don't have resources to the best quality of stuff, you know what I mean? So I definitely tell people to back it down. There's certain things. So I would go through and just kind of, say, hey, get rid of maybe 80% of that.
Yeah.
And start there, and then maybe get more specific with what we're trying to accomplish, right?
Right.
Like, what's our goals? Do we have 12 goals, or there's a couple key things we can work on, and then just getting more specific.
You're right about the, you got a problem, take a pill kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was
It's just
doing.
another form, yeah.
I was just trying to overcome something, and I just kept throwing stuff at it.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it caused me some problems.
Yeah.
Because I was just taking too much stuff.
For sure.
And
Been there, done that, man.
Yeah.
It's I've done it myself too. And I had to learn the hard way. It's just, so it's better to learn it now than something worse happening,
Yeah, yeah, and it's a lot easier. I'm not full when I get done taking supplements now.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
And I few like vitamin D I know is important.
Yeah.
I take a vitamin D supplement every morning, and magnesium helps me sleep. So
For sure.
I take that. But a lot of the stuff that I was doing, I'm not.
And you can get a lot of that from, like you said, eating maybe mostly a little bit better quality foods in the store, organic, what have you.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of locally sourced food.
Yeah.
Where can we get quality locally sourced food? And that's another thing, we're chapter leaders for what's called Weston A. Price Foundation. And these were early doctors back in the early 1900s. And so before academic institutions really started controlling the research, about nutrition and all this stuff, and all these federal agencies, they actually had nutrition studies where they would feed animals and humans different foods, and they kind of figured out in the 20s, 30s, and 40s what foods have a large amount of this vitamin or this mineral, because that's how they started naming them, right?
Right.
Oh, this is, we're gonna call this vitamin B1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 20, whatever. They started figuring this out then. But this stuff's like gone. It's like, nobody even mentions it anymore, but I have a bunch of old books from these docs, Dr. Royal Lee, Dr. Weston A. Price, where they have this information. And so Weston A. Price Foundation is big about food, farming, and the healing arts. And so we're chapter leaders, and it's just about this, like, look for locally sourced food, a little better quality farming where we're not, where it's more regenerative agriculture, right? My family farms and ranches to grow those beautiful soybeans and corn. At this scale, they have to have chemicals, and hey, is what it is. I'm not the judge of anything,
Right.
but it does do things to the soil and the body that are potentially detrimental. And so Weston A. Price just they actually have different research showing this and explaining this stuff. And so it's an educational institution, and then it goes into healing arts and different things, and it talks about how, like you said, how do we get nutrient dense food back in our diet where we don't need to take all these supplements. And so that's a big,
and a lot of the problem is the chemicals that we've been eating and drinking are addictive.
Yeah.
And we don't feel right now if we're not taking that stuff.
I love like the diet versus regular soda. Oh, diet's got to be better, right? No, actually, when you look at the research, it's actually lab manipulated sweeteners that are actually they're tougher on the pancreas, so your pancreas secretes more, your beta cells secrete more insulin, and then you get maybe a little dopamine rush, right, to get that addiction going.
Mm-hmm.
So the diet's actually, I would say, just regular table sugar actually, versus this sweetener stuff that's made in a lab.
I had a real problem for a while with Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And then I started to have some health problems and looked into what aspartame does to a person.
Yeah.
I stopped.
Yeah.
I just quit it. And I felt better very quickly.
Yeah.
after stopping?
I had a guy in a network group I was with, and he, same thing, Diet Coke for years, and he started getting brain fog, fatigue, his memory started slipping.
Mm-hmm.
By God, he stopped drinking Diet Coke and hit the sauna like 5 days a week, and he's like, I got it back within a few months.
Mm.
I mean, it's just, you have to hear this to kind of spark people's interest. Like, oh, maybe there's something to that, you know? Maybe if they hear it enough, they can take some.
People will fight you over that, though.
themselves.
Don't take away my Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi. Or,
Oh, I know.
They
It's
get
definitely an addiction. Yeah,
they get upset about that kind of stuff, and
Sure.
But that doesn't make it good for you.
No, I know.
You know?
It's like you said, you know, people got to make their own choices, and I'm just here to. I'm not trying to judge or anything. These are just stories, examples of anecdotes, and people feeling better from doing certain things, you know. And so we had the evidence. I want to share that, just to, you know, give people a little hope. Like, hey, if I want to take a little bit more responsibility, you know, change my habits little ways, I can change my life for the better, you know.
Yeah, get out, go for a walk, and there's a lot of different things that we can be doing that we're not doing anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think that we are wired to live the way that we're living.
Yeah.
You know, I've got.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at it, but I've got a phone sitting right next to me. You
And
know?
I look at mine too much all day. It's terrible.
It's
My wife gets on me, and I get home, get down. It's almost addicting too.
yeah, it
But
is.
then you know, it's my business, so I use that excuse.
Oh, I've done the same.
You know. And
Yeah, I'm getting
which it
emails.
is.
Yeah, I got to answer those emails.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I don't. Because
Yeah.
what would I do if I was asleep? You know, and
Yeah.
I'd just answer it when I woke up. You
Yep.
know, so just it's okay to leave it sit for a while.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it.
Me too. Work in progress, like we all are, right? So,
All right, how do folks find you? Where because you've got a website.
Yep.
Is that the best way to schedule an appointment, or how do they do
Yeah,
that?
actually, it's kind of nice, and that's why I kind of do mostly my stuff myself as of right now. I have everything kind of automated, so they can go on our website. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram,
So,
and then it links to our website. And
well,
then,
I'm hoping I don't get this wrong. It's pcsfchiropractic.com.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay.
And then on the site, you can go on there and click, you know, if you're interested, you can click new patient, click an appointment time, and then for new patients, there's online intake stuff on the bottom of the page, you know, that they can fill out, which kind of just expedites the first exam or first meeting a little bit more. And then, you know, if you want something else besides like regular chiropractic care, you can kind of there's options for that in the scheduling too. So.
Well, Dr. Nate Wiechmann, Pott County Sports and Family Chiropractic.
Yeah, it's a long name.
But
my wife warned me about that one, and I just, not being from the area, I'm like, how do I just, you know, go after a big region?
Yeah.
And that was how. So maybe I need to rebrand. I don't know.
Well, very grateful that you took some time to come out here. You're a busy man, and I'm thankful that you did this. Looking forward to seeing the podcast once she's up and running, and
Yeah.
we'll be
Looking forward to
we'll
it.
be
Yeah.
promoting the heck out of it, and looking forward to some of the guests that you have on there, and just more of the information. And that's what it is. It's for information.
Yeah.
It's
pretty
just to
much.
give you some stuff to think about.
Yep.
That's the idea behind it.
Like you said, just kind of creating a library of just trusted sources that I've found
Right.
beneficial, and that's kind of what we're doing. We're talking about like health-related stuff basically on most of it. And I'll have different providers, hopefully from different walks of life, and maybe an orthopedic surgeons and stuff on it, or whatever, you know, wherever it goes, we'll just kind of take it, and so we can get kind of a broad range of
Yeah.
different topics.
All that is coming up, and we have more episodes of Campfire Conversations coming up very soon as well. Got a lot of folks booked in the coming weeks, so we're looking forward to, and thank you very much for watching these things. I'm getting great response. I'm surprised at how many people have seen these, because people keep coming up to me and say, when's the next one coming out? So
Nice.
it's going very well. And thank you to the Schneckloff family for allowing us to sit here at the Acres. TheAcresVenue.com is their website. If you have an event, this is the place. You get it on your list to check out at least. You need to come out and take a look, because it's beautiful out here. They've done a wonderful
They've done a
job.
lot of good work out here.
A lot of work. All right, until next time, we'll see you again on Campfire Conversations.